Iko Nini. So on Thursday kuna hii interview ili drop ilikuwa between Mehdi Hassan na msee anaitwa Kimani Ichungwah. Pole juu jina Mehdi wagananiletea shida. And the interview got so interesting because at some point kuna vile Mehdi Hassan alimuuliza how many cops wamekuwa prosecuted from hizi stories of protest because na happened last year where the cops ended up using excessive force na wakabaki wamededisha like innocent protesters. So wacha tusikie vile Kimani ali respond.
In 2023 or 2024? Can you tell us how many?
I'll tell you from the last year's demonstrations, 3 are already in court.
3 police officers have been prosecuted?
Three are being prosecuted.
Are being prosecuted, but none have been prosecuted.
Another 34 cases. Before you prosecute somebody, you have got to investigate.
So
you have to
this is what Human Rights Watch said last year. Bodies of people showing signs of torture continue to turn up in rivers, forests, quarries, mortuaries. The authorities have yet to investigate or prosecute anyone for these crimes. Kenya has a history of police brutality and lack of accountability for serious abuse.
So
that's Human Rights Watch.
You want to believe what Human Rights Watch said, not what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, hapo nacheki Kimani Ichungwah, I think alikuwa nafikiria iko kwa one of these like Kenyan stations. Ndio kauliza hiyo, you want to believe the Human Rights Watch ama me? Wazakambia yeah. As I told you, I must you can mention, but Mehdi Hassan is known for his confrontational style of interviews. Kuna time chekigeu mse nafikiria one day atasetiwa right ingine because waga nini. So and I'd say that it went downhill from here because alibonga juu ya vitu mob sana. Kama kuna ile time Kimani Ichungwah alikuwa anabonga juu ya the fact that hakukuwa na abductions, wasa walikuwa wanaenda pale wanajificha kwa ma Airbnb. But wacha tuendelee.
Because
I'm going to believe a human rights group over a politician who started by saying, I won't give you straight answers.
It is their take, Mehdi. It is their take. And I didn't come here to give their take. I came here to give my take and the perspective.
So they're wrong, you think? The police officers are being held to account?
They are wrong because the police officers must be held to account.
But they haven't been.
And that is why we have institutions that will hold them to account.
So what you said today about the deaths sounded good. You said it's regrettable, there should be no loss of life. That's what you say here. What you say in Kenya is a little bit different. This is what you said in December about the abductions of young people. You said that they're a way for people to basically rig-con the system. You said these people, quote, they're not really abducted, you said, quote, they're locking themselves in Airbnbs with their girlfriends and hiding. Are you saying that all these abductions, Kenyan parents crying over missing children, bodies turning up in rivers, that's people pretending, hiding with their girlfriends in an Airbnb? Do you understand how offensive that sounds?
So cheki, so hapa alibaki ameulizwa juu ya hiyo time because nakuwa ile si wakiwaga parliament, I don't know what happens to them, but they always say these things that make you wonder, like, are they just saying this to please Ruto, or do they actually believe these things? Because even a small child knows that hapa Kenya abductions ni reality. Najua that's a reality. It's not something that people come up with. It's just part of things that happen hapa Kenya. Najua abductions. And for ye kusema hivi that wasi walikuwa wanajificha kwa ma Airbnb, alibaki ameulizwa hiyo swali because it's so easy to say it here and for the media to let you get away with that, but when you go out there utaulizwa maswali. Alafu I don't know kama hii ndio place alianza kublaba juu ya Bungoma County, sijui nini imehappen mpaka unashindwa ase wako hapo, do they actually understand what Bungoma County is?
Mehdi, I was speaking in Bungoma County, and the context was the clamor for, there was the misconception that every other abduction in the country was being perpetuated by security agencies. But what I said is that we have laws in the country that people who are construed to have broken the law in terms of the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, if they are found culpable, the DCI or the police should and must arrest them and take them before courts of law, because that is what they deserve. And the police and security agencies have no business abducting anybody, and nobody should be abducted.
But they are abducting people.
By security agencies.
But they are abducting.
Allow me to make my point because you asked me a question. And it is in that context then that I said, and again, it is not all cases, Mehdi, that were out of abductions or what was construed to be abductions. And let me tell you.
So nacheki, so hapa kajitetea, it was not all cases, zote zilikuwa za abductions. Alafu, I don't know, but is it just me ama I don't know if it's the lighting in the studio, but I'm really hoping hakuwa amevaa red bottoms because sasa ufanyanga vitu zingine za kipumbavu zile ukienda kwa search forums and there you're there wearing red bottoms. I'm really hoping that this is just the lighting.
By the way, very nice red bottom shoes.
But yes, so the interview got even more interesting because uko mbele kuna vile alikuwa anaulizwa juu ya vile ubuda mwingine anaitwa Justin Muturi, vile the way Justin Muturi came out and said that his son had been like abducted, and when this guy was asked akaanza kusema juu ya Justin Muturi, he actually used the word beef, that Justin Muturi iko na beef na the president. Try to imagine, like we are using the word beef as if politicians have turned into rappers. Alafu akasema that Justin Muturi knows he's on his way out. Naweza taka kujua historia ya Justin Muturi because at some point Justin Muturi alikuwa out here akibonga alafu he just went silent. I'd want to know like what has happened in the meantime that has made him go silent. I don't know.
Can I give you a fact?
Unless you give me
I'm going to give you a fact right now because the audience around the world watching may not know this. The Attorney General of Kenya, his son was abducted, literally a serving member of the government. His son was taken. How did he get him released? Can you tell our audience?
The Attorney General of Kenya is called Dorcas Oduor.
Justin Muturi, the former Attorney General, he's moved on.
Abducted.
So nachiki hapa Ujinga ile he actually knows that anaulizwa juu ya Justin Muturi, but he decides to pretend that ajui ikuwe ni juu ya Dorcas Oduor. These tricks might work kwa hapa local media because watu watakutreat kama mheshimiwa, but when you go out there no one is trying to treat you as mheshimiwa. So of course akakorektiwa akaambiwa ni story na Justin Muturi.
The person who has alleged that his son was abducted is the former Attorney General Justin Muturi. And
how did he get his son released?
And I'll tell you again, I have read from the media, heard Justin Muturi what he said, just as you heard it. It is an allegation by Justin Muturi, somebody who has...
Justin Muturi says he went to the president and said, President Ruto, the intelligence service has taken my son. President Ruto called the head of your intelligence service and his son was released.
Have you heard Mehdi from
crazy.
President Ruto on the same? Have you heard from the director of intelligence?
You tell me what's President Ruto's... Has he denied it?
Have you heard from him?
No, I don't live in Kenya. You're the expert. Has President Ruto denied that?
Why don't you allow then me to tell you my
Please
take?
do.
Because that's your take.
Please.
From what has been reported.
That's
not
my
my
take.
take.
I'm reporting
So
a member of your government. This is amazing. I'm quoting a member of your government, not the opposition, a member of your government who you're calling a liar because he says his son was abducted.
That's why I told you Justin Muturi, the former Attorney General and current Minister for Public Service,
yes,
is a politician to begin with, has beef with his boss in the government he serves.
Wow. Mesikia hiyo, has beef with his boss. Yes, this is what we are displaying out there, that a cabinet secretary who serves in Ruto's cabinet has beef with Ruto. So I don't know if he's supposed to, hizi vitu wanna do, I guess ni si diss tracks ni diss interviews, like yes, it's just ridiculous. So from hapa naweza sema ikikam to stories of abductions and what, it went downhill, but now it gets more interesting. There's one thing ile mupendaga kusema juu yake, na musemaga like the way $1 billion shillings is so much money, and Kimani Ichungwah finally told us what his net worth is. But before nikwambie what his net worth is, wacha tuende kwa kenyans.co.ke. This was posted on Thursday the 6th of April 2023. So ilikuwa how Kimani Ichungwah rose from Mali trader in Nyamakima to Ruto's point man. Sikia how he rose from Mali to Ruto's point man. And now alienda hapa alafu wakaamua kubonga juu ya corruption, and as they were talking about corruption, yes, nataka tu msikize, like it's one of those things zile unasikiaga uko like damn, I guess this is the reason why a lot of people wanadharau $1 billion shillings.
If you live in the Kenyan soil today, you will know close to 18,000 public services now are digitized, principally to try and preempt corrupt practices, because it is a provision of services where people get engaged into corruption and corrupt activities. Two, I will tell you, not a single mega scandal. Look at all previous administrations in Kenya, right from the Kenyatta one, the Moi regime, 24 years, to the Kibaki regime, to the Uhuru Kenyatta regime.
But you have dropped.
there were mega scandals
So why have
in
you dropped
every
3 places in the annual
not
corruption
a
rating?
single mega scandal.
You made that point. I'm
on
not
corruption
disputing
in the
that.
last 2 years.
I'm asking why you dropped 3
I'll tell you
places in the annual ranking.
because the indexes are based on perception. Today, Mehdi,
So mwanapo indexes are based on perception, but before even tuendelee na historia today Medi, tuangalie hivi gava ya Kenya unibambaga sana. When there is no corruption mega scandal, they say we are supposed to be thankful. Najua tunafaa kutokea tuko like, oh, asanteni for doing your work the way you're supposed to do it. Hii ni wakoga mediocrity ya Africa, and you'll find like a lot of people supporting this. Of course, there's been a mega scandal. Adani was a mega scandal. It's a corruption scandal that was stopped in its tracks. But was it actually stopped? Majuzi tumeona fire fulani ilikuwa pale JKIA. Hiyo fire kumbuka vile ilikuwa kubwa. It took a very long time before they put it out because they wanted people to see. So hizi ma scandals ziko. And I think the only reason why we've not seen a mega scandal is because also we've not seen a mega project. All we've seen is the president move around and just give figures and what and what and what. But now, sikia vile Kimani Shongo alianza kujitetea about yeye na corruption.
when you ran out an advert that I was going to appear on this show, you have seen what has happened on Twitter.
Okay.
In Kenya and globally. Yeah.
Obviously, every politician has their
even
critic.
on the Al Jazeera page. Because Kenyans are like that. Kenyans are very participatory and active. And therefore,
So your country just looks corrupt because Kenyans are very vocal. Is that what you're saying?
Ask Kenyans, if you announce today that you're doing a corruption perception here today, and ask them, is Kimani Ichungwah corrupt? They will all storm your pages and perceive me to be corrupt.
We'll come back to you in a moment.
Ask them to give you evidence of a single corruption case.
So hold on.
Against Kimani Ichungwah, they will not. The same for William Ruto. They will not give you a single
I'll
case,
come back to Ruto in a second.
scandal.
For Ruto, autatiaga Ruto, and then they end up saying these dumb things that just makes no sense. Unasemaje, ati tukiuliza Ruto, about Ruto, there is no single case ya corruption. All you need to do is write Ruto Mteshi. Alafu utapata, High Court ordered Deputy President William Ruto on Friday to surrender a 100-acre farm in the lush Rift Valley and pay compensation to a farmer who had accused the politician of grabbing the land during election violence 5 years ago. Nacheki. So you cannot even try and separate Ruto from corruption. That's something that even Ruto himself never tries to do. So this was dumb. But wacha tuone vile aliendelea kudefend boss wake.
Of corruption under this administration.
You say it's Kenyan perception, but it's not just Kenyan
It's not
perception.
Kenyan
I quote,
perception.
here's
it is
the...
perception driven by an active citizen.
No, if you let me finish a sentence, I'll tell you, US Trade Representative in 2024, the US government, ally of Kenya, said US firms routinely report direct requests for bribes from all levels of the Kenyan government.
And
are they just passionate?
You will remember when that was said. Action was taken. We did not just talk about it.
So you just ended bribery
Action
from all
was
levels
taken,
of the Kenyan government.
and very senior officers of the Ministry of Trade lost their jobs.
Let me ask you about President Ruto. You mentioned President Ruto. He positions himself as an outsider. I think he likes to call himself a hustler, a man who's separate to the Kenyan political elites, the political dynasties, the Kenyatas, the Odingas. But is he that different, Kimani? Because he's been in politics for nearly 30 years, longer than even President Kenyatta. He's amassed a lot of wealth during his time in politics.
Look, it's quite interesting. Like, villainly part, like he's been in politics longer than Kenyatta. You know, that's something we never think about. That the fact that Ruto is younger than Kenyatta, but Ruto amekuwa in politics longer than Kenyatta. And this is where unaanza kuona. Angalia wase kama Ruto, that's a career politician who's right now is a dollar billionaire. Yes, dollar billionaire. Has never, for like in his adult life, hajai stay away from politics. He's always been involved in politics. He's a dollar billionaire. Utasikia umsa kibonga jua like the property ya Ruto. Alafu, with that in mind, when Mehdi asks this guy how much he's worth, itakuonyesha the way, if you want to be a billionaire in this country, the easiest way is being, just ingia to politics. Usijidanganye ati utawak hard. Sisi tuko hapa jo IKONINI. Kila siku IKONINI. Hakuna bilioni yoyote inakuja through IKONINI. Itabidi tu tuendelee kuitandika, but never going to happen. Nacheki, and that's not just the reality for us, that's the reality for like a lot of Kenyans, and not just a lot of Kenyans, a reality for people around the world. But in Kenya, the easiest way to make $1 billion is just enter politics. These people talk about $1 billion like it's 5,000 shillings.
In politics, I believe he owns luxury hotels, a 2,500-acre farm, a poultry plant. He's invested in hotels. Isn't that part of why Kenyans are so frustrated with their government? They see these rich elites in charge, making money while they suffer.
Well, he was seen as an outsider in the sense that he came from a family that was relatively unknown. Nobody knew who his father was, nobody knew who his mother was. Unlike those he was competing with who came from families that were political families, well-known, wealthy backgrounds, and he came as a hustler, someone who had hustled his way from the bottom up, and that's why he sold himself, and he's seen as an outsider in terms of where he's coming from.
I think Kenyans are fine with him hustling himself into the...
It doesn't mean, Mehdi, that if I was born into a family of poverty, I should live and die in poverty. I also...
Macheki, hii ujinga inaitangwa deflection, where it doesn't mean that if I was born in a family of poverty, I should die in poverty. Yes, it doesn't mean that. That's why every day when you wake up, you see people waking up in the morning and they try and hustle. This is the reason why even gambling in places like Africa, ama Kenya, for example, because I najua more about Kenya than other countries, is rampant because people are trying to make it by all means necessary, especially people who are not born with a silver spoon. We are all trying to make it. That's why we hustle. That's why we wake up in the morning. That's why we tell ourselves that tomorrow is going to be better than today, and we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So to try and act that us questioning Ruto's wealth is us saying that if someone is born poor, they should die poor. I've never had anyone question wealth ya Wanyama, Victor Wanyama. Tunajua pale imetoka. Tunajua pale wealth ya Mariga imetoka. Eliud Kipchoge, tunajua where the wealth has come from. Even when it comes to rappers, when mse kama Calligraph alitengeneza Cage, I did not hear anyone question the source of the wealth. Anaitwa nani? Kina Bahati wakiflaunt wealth online, no one questions the source of the wealth because we can see where the money came from. Unacheki, like even if watu wa Manu Chandaria wakitokea leo, we will not question where the wealth comes from. There is a reason why we know about Chandaria and Chandaria group, I think. Akina Samia group, hizo zote zile zinaoniwa na other politicians. Unajua ule muhindi wa Bidco, but this poultry plant ya Ruto, just show me one photo of it. We just hear about it. It just exists somewhere. It exists too somewhere.
I also wasn't born in a very affluent family, but I'm working very hard, and I work very hard every day.
The day
I make it, I fake it till I make it, and the day I make it...
Are you talking about yourself?
Are you going to say I'm also corrupt?
Hold on, are you saying yourself? You're talking about yourself for a moment.
Yeah, I also...
Recently, an MP from your party joked that you were worth 5 billion shillings, or $38 million. Is that correct?
Joked, and not from my party. It's actually from the other party.
So can you clarify then, what is your net worth?
Well, not 5 billion, definitely.
For 1 billion?
Probably about close to 1 billion.
And that's fine, because a lot of people, as you know better than me, you're the majority leader of the Kenyan National Assembly, that Kenyan MPs are among the highest paid in the world in relative terms.
Okay, cha tusibonge hata juu ya pay. Masikia kila amesema, umsali sema yuko worth 1 billion. Do you know, wealth reaches a certain level where 1 billion and 5 billion, the difference is so small that everything that you can do with 1 billion, reasonable, everything reasonable, unaweza do. Na yani unaweza fanya na 5 billion, unaweza do na 1 billion. Nacheki, as long as you're not trying to buy a 5 billion property. But if you come to life, living a soft life, you can. But now, this made me very curious, and I went digging into this guy's history. Kumbuka, kulikuwa na hii article, nilikuwa nimebonga juu yake mbeleni ya Mali trader in Nyamakima. I don't know when that happened. Now, decided to go to one of the worst websites you can go to hapa Kenya. Na hii website ya parliament.go.ke. Literally, this website looks like it was designed by Oscar Sudi. Like, it's so bad. So, you have to go through hii website ubaki umeicheki. So, 1996 to 2000, alikuwa University of Nairobi. And around the same time, pia aliendaga Strathmore for kusoma accounting. Yes, so aliendaga Alliance High School. So, there's that whole thing. This is where it gets interesting. in March 2001 after amalize campo in 2000 alibaki ameandikwa as a cash stroke manager accountant kwa a certain company, I think inaitwa Divas Levy Limited. I think it's called Diversi Liver East Africa Limited. Akatoka hapo in 2003 akaenda Madison Insurance as a senior accountant. Akatoka Madison Insurance as a senior accountant, and around this time he ended up now joining Standard Group. And when I was looking at this easy vitu, like things that he used to do, it made me super curious to see like how much was he earning as easy vitu. So unaweza chukua tu nini, this is the reason why niko na hii computer. So nikaenda kwa computer nikaangalia how much does a senior like accountant at Standard Group earn. So niko sure I won't get the right figure, but I'll get a certain figure that makes sense. So a senior accountant, Standard Group. So of course he'll say that he did not make his money here, but I'm just trying to imagine like what it takes to make 1 billion shillings, because we always talk about these things, but making them is very very hard. So mtoto ulionajua some of the highest paid people kwa media stations na kwa the presenters. When's the last time you heard about a presenter hapa Kenya ule yeye ni billionaire? So ukienda hapa nimetry to find Standard Group lakini sijapata, lakini kwa the estimated salary of a senior accountant in Kenya ranges from 100,000 shillings to 106 per month, si ndio? I've worked in media, so Standard Group, let me put that at 5 times, it come to around 500,000 shillings a month, yes, for Standard Group, because he was not the head of finance at Standard Group, he was just a senior accountant. But sawa, so tuweke hiyo kando. Where he made his wealth according to mimi ni kampuni inaitwa Safex Africa, and at Safex Africa he was the finance director, sindio? So his Safex Africa, he's still the finance director till today. So from 2009 to 2013 he was fully involved as the finance director was Safex Africa. That means he used to go there, we'd say every day, and I'm going to put every day in quotes. But don't forget, the first time ali end up in parliament ilikuwa March 2013. So let's say maybe between 2009 to, can you win an election in less than 2 years? So let's say 2009 to 2011 he was fully involved as the finance director of Safex Africa. And this is where now you start looking at salaries, the finance directors, and you'll find out that it's not what you think it is. So finance director, hapa niko na cheki, according to Glassdoor, the estimated total pay for a finance director in Kenya is around 935,000 per month. But I'm going to be very liberal with this. I'm going to put it at 3 million shillings a month if you are fully involved every day. Do you know how many months it would take you to reach 1 billion shillings? If you are earning 3 million shillings, it would take you around 300 months. 300 months is 25 years. That's how long it would take you to reach 1 billion shillings if you're not spending a single cent of your money. But this guy went to parliament from 2013 to date, and right now he's a billionaire. And he's a billionaire because of Safex Africa. So Safex Africa has to be this very big company, najua. So I decided, let me just check out and see this Safex Africa, a company that hatujaisikia juu yake. And what does it do? So Safex Africa inakuagania protective clothing supplier in Kenya. You see, when you start hearing things like protective clothing, that's where now you start seeing zile stories most probably ni company na work na government, najua it gets government contracts, and you know the way government contracts are, they end up being inflated, and that's how we end up at this net worth. Don't let anybody fool you. There is no business in this world where if you don't give it full attention you can end up making 1 billion shillings. Usijidanganye, enda online uchek msanaitwa Elon Musk, utaonaga vile Elon Musk anakuaga fully involved in all his companies. Enda utafute like kumse wa Amazon, cheki Amazon ikianza the way he was fully. Hii kitu mnadanganyagwa na politicians that you can have a company that a side hustle making you $1 billion and you're still going to parliament every day to earn less than $1 million shillings a month. It shows you this parliament is what is keeping this company alive. So this SafeX Africa, I'd seen a certain statistic. I don't know why I did not take a screenshot of it, but kulikuwa na ile statistic ya import export data, and it was saying that this company has only ever exported outside Africa. Yes, ilikuwa ni trade emo. So SafeX Africa is based out of Kenya with one export shipment recorded in global import-export data. The company's top markets is India. So hii kampuni ile imemeka $1 billion shillings, the only time ishai export kitu ile ikaend up imechukuliwa kwa import-export data ni mara moja peke yake, na ili export to India. This company is worth more than $1 billion, because don't forget Kimani Ichungwah himself is worth $1 billion. So this company has to be worth more than that. So this company has to be the source of the wealth. And the only way this company is the source of the wealth has to be through government contracts and through taxpayers' money. And this is the nonsense that happens in this country, where you have government officials coming from Kericho County and they go and sleep at Weston. That should never happen. Najua, the president should never benefit from being the president, should never benefit financially, apart from his salary. And you know, in like these mature democracies, very rich presidents don't even take their salaries. I think even place kama ilikuwa ni New York, ule msa alikuwa naitwa Bloomberg wa New York, I don't think he used to take his salary. Alikuwa na nini, he just used to live it. And that happens, like that's how much it means when you want to serve. But these people, they don't want to serve, they want to make money. And siwezi kudanganya, politics in Kenya, it's going to make you money. This is why this guy, when he's asked about 5 billion, he says, there's no way I can be worth 5 billion. But yes, I'm worth $1 billion. Alafu nyika wa Kenya mkoziliza, buda ukihasula sana fikiriaga umse yani nini peke yake. We mwenyewe si uanze uone. We mwenyewe uanze uone. Biashara, it's so easy to say, I'm going to make all these millions. Isn't it like ideas za kipumbavu zilionaga meka kwa base, alafu msana sema, buda jo, unajua ukianza kuuza salt hapa Kenya, unajua Kenya iko na Wakenya wangapi? Nasikia Kenya iko na wase 55 million. Si ndio? Now try imagine, kila mwezi unapelekea kila family salt ya ashu. So hiyo ni 550 times 10, hiyo ni 550 million. So inamaanisha mwaka mmoja utakuwa umetengeneza do ngapi? Ani miezi 2 utakuwa umetengeneza 2 billion. By the end of the year utakuwa umetengeneza 6 billion. Alafu kuna mafala ziko hapo like, enyewe, this already someone supplying salt. Who told you are going to be the only salt supplier? Hautakuwa. The market is always flooded. There's always someone doing something. That's why the easiest way to make wealth inakuwaga in newer technologies, newer industries. Say 100% guaranteed this money was made from government contracts. And it means that this money was made from inflated budgets. Wajua gava vile wakigi. Gava, if I was to decide to supply these iPads to the government, I think iPad will buy around $450. So for $50 would come to just under 60,000 shillings. Yes? If I was supplying this to government, of course, imaanishi mimi specifically as Mwafrika, but it means if a Kenyan is supplying this, like if this were being supplied to the county government, they'd be supplied at least 200,000 shillings each. That's the sort of people that we deal with. And this is the reason why we are stuck in this mediocrity. And it just keeps happening and happening, because people can just push out a name like $1 billion shillings and tell you that's from their side hustle, and we just accept it. Someone can come out and say, I'm the finance director of SafeX. I'm not even the proprietor, I'm the owner, but I'm just the finance director and I'm worth $1 billion. Alafu, every Kenyan will be there like, yeah, that makes sense. Iko Nini.